Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today I am very pleased to have on the show Salena Knight. Sorry, I was having a moment then. Salena is host of the popular podcast Bringing Business to Retail, as well as a global speaker and presenter on scaling retail businesses. She has developed a reputation for being allergic to playing small, combining a no-nonsense approach with a deep understanding of exactly what is needed to be a successful independent retailer. Everything she does is focused on helping other business owners take action they need to flourish, succeed, and realise their big vision. Welcome, Salena, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing a whole bunch of information. I'm very much a strategic action kind of person. So hopefully once everybody listens, they will walk away with one thing that they can implement straight after this podcast. That's my aim.
Lovely. All right. So tell me a little bit more about why retail figures or retailers figure out what's holding them back from their businesses.
Well, I think the first thing is actually just realizing that there are things that you're good at and things that maybe you're not so good at. And look, it doesn't matter how big your business is. I was actually having a conversation last Thursday with a nine figures a billion? No, 8 figures, several $100 million turnover a year, however many figures that is. And we were just at an event and we were just chatting and you know, of course they ask you, what is it that you do? And I said, I help independent retail and e-commerce brands to scale. And he said, oh, you know, how do you do that? Are you an accountant? And I'm like, I'm not an accountant, no. But my whole philosophy is, I better just check. Are we PG rated here?
Yes.
Okay. My whole philosophy is do what you're crap at for 90 days and you will see exponential growth. And he's like, oh, I kind of understand what you're saying, but that's kind of the opposite of what everybody's saying. Like if I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, he's telling me hustle, 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 be known for one thing, you know, do one thing, be good at it, like make that your strength and your foundation. And you're saying I shouldn't focus on what I'm good at? And I said, that is exactly right, because you tell me, like you are turning over several $100 million a year. If you continue to just tweak that one thing that you're good at, what kind of numbers of growth would you see? And I said, just let me guess, like 1%? And he said, oh, probably, yeah, between 1 and 3 is what we're aiming for. And I said, but if you focused on the thing that you are crap at, you might see 30% increase in growth. And he was like, oh my God. And he went and got the CEO of the company and he's like, you have to come here and listen to this because it is like this light bulb has gone off. And he was the chief growth officer. Like this is his job to build the business. And he said, we just need to do what we're bad at. Like if we can just do that every quarter, imagine the growth that we can have. And he's like, tell him. And so I did. I said, you know, that's my philosophy is don't do what you're good at because you're already good at it. That's the problem. And doing what you're good at is a really safe space to play in because, you know, it's just a little bit of this, it's just a little bit of that. And it's why it doesn't matter. Like the stuff I talk about is for retail and e-commerce brands, but you can really implement it in any business. That's just the niche that I work in. But doing the thing that you're already good at is safe and it's comfortable and you get a little bit excited because you go, oh yeah, 1% growth, but you're not going to go backwards because you're already good at it. Whereas if you actually focus on the thing that you're crap at. Now, I'll tell you in a moment that there are 5 pillars that you can focus on. But if you focus on that thing that you aren't very good at, it's not your strength, it is your weakness. Maybe you don't like doing it, or maybe it's a bit too confusing for you. You don't have to do it yourself. You just have to put the resources in. Because when you do, that is when I've literally had clients who have seen 30% increase in profit in 90 days. Now, who doesn't want that? That is tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for most businesses. And that's no more sales. That was no extra ad spend. That was just, she focused on her money pillar. And so there are 5, just quickly, I'll tell you before you ask me the next question, there are 5 pillars in business. There's money, which is understanding how money flows into, around, and then out of your business. there's sales, which is the making of the money. Many people get those two confused, right? You can't make sales if you don't know about your money, because that's what happens is you end up with you're making sales and there's no money left in the bank. So having a really good money foundation is quite often where most businesses get stuck. So we've got money, sales, we've got marketing, which is telling the world that you exist and getting people to want what you buy. That is the whole framework of your marketing pillar. You've got customers. So then you've got to find them, you've got to attract them, you've got to catch them, you've got to connect with them, you've got to convert them, and you've got to keep them coming back. So at any one point, working on your customer pillar could be any 6 parts of that equation. So we have money, sales, marketing, customers, and then we have what I call the missing pillar, which is impact. And impact is about building a brand, not just a store, or building a brand, not just a business. Impact is totally intangible for the most part. Impact is understanding why you have this business in the first place and communicating that so that you get people who want to hang out with your business. Even if you took all the products away, they would still turn up. And so that's the one that a lot of people need to master, but quite often they have to focus on the other ones first. You really have to have the money coming into your business first.
Yeah.
Make sure that you can pay all the bills before you head off onto the impact pillar.
Yeah, I think so. That would be definitely the last one. So tell me a little bit more about this hamster wheel of hope.
The hamster wheel of hope is what we call it when people just turn up every day and hope that money's going to come in. They turn up every day, they post on social media and hope that someone's going to buy something. They just look at their inbox and hope that somebody's asking them to buy their services. Or it's a lot of crossing their fingers, and there's no actual plan. So most people who are feeling a little bit stuck, who are feeling overwhelmed, we call it the overworked and underpaid shopkeeper mode. And so what I'm passionate about is stopping people from being shopkeepers and turning them into retail CEOs, so that they have this really good understanding of how they run their business, rather than just being stuck in the weeds and posting things on social media or uploading products to their website or taking photos. Like, all of that is grunt work. All of that is stuff that someone else can do way cheaper than you can. And if you factor it in that, as a CEO, you're probably on at least $100 an hour. Like, let's be honest, what are the things that you're doing in your business that are worth $100 an hour? And even if you don't have a huge amount of cash flow, even being able to outsource some of these really basic things, like, oh my goodness, if I see another business owner telling me that they're making graphics in Canva, I'm like, there is someone overseas who needs a job, right? Maybe there's someone even local. Maybe it's your local uni student who will do this for a lot cheaper than $100 an hour. So what you should be focusing on as the CEO of your business is that leadership role, is understanding, what do you want from your business? And so many people can't even tell me that. It's like, if we sat down 5 years from now and I was like, Rose, I cannot believe how far you've come. Like, you have seriously nailed it. What would you tell me that has happened? And most people can't answer that question. Most people are just like, well, I'd make more money. But you have to be clear. You have to be clear on what you want if you want to get that.
Yeah, that would probably be my answer. I don't know.
Oh my God. And you're the one who's you're the one whose listeners are coming to for this kind of advice.
Oh yeah, but I just work and work and work, and because I'm a solopreneur, so I don't have staff or anything to do all this work. And I could outsource if I wanted to, but I think I just like that little bit of control.
So there's on that very quickly, one of the things that I'm known for is we have banned the words small business in our company, because what we tend to find, and you just did it just then with your solopreneur, is it is prefaced by the word just. So I can't because I'm just a small business. How do I compete? Because I'm just a small business. The fact is, you don't need to compete when you've built a brand. And if you're using that word just, you are just playing small. Honestly, it is just an excuse for you to not be hitting the heights that you should be hitting, because you've got this mindset of, it's just me, or I can't afford to outsource, or I'm a control freak. Great leaders are in control, but great leaders don't do all of the things. I'm getting out my big stick here on you, Rose.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But you can be in control. You can have great processes. Like there's other ways to be in control. And this is what we say is when you are a proper CEO, you lead with clarity and confidence and control. But here's the thing, you won't get control if you aren't clear on what you want and how you're going to get there. And you get the confidence because you know the answers to those things. When you know what it is that you want, you become confident in the actions that you take, and then you can control the outcomes. You can control the people that you bring into your business. You can put processes together. You can do those sorts of things. But if you don't know where you're going, then the confidence and the control tend to just kind of fall by the wayside because you just kind of turn up and you're on the hamster wheel of hope. You're just hoping that everything works out, that you've got enough hours in the day to get all the work done, that the proposals go out, or that someone buys, and maybe the ads that we're running might work. I mean, it's very difficult to grow a business on your own.
It is, yes, I agree with you. Yeah, we're going back to, doing. I did a management course, and they said that the very same things. This was a few years ago, when I wanted just to do some personal development, and one of the things was, don't do everything on your own. Do outsource, find staff, do all that sort of thing. So you're quite right, and it's just something, I guess, as entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or whatever, we don't tend to do because we think we just need to do everything.
But why do we think we just need to do everything? That's a
Um,
very small business mindset.
it is very, yes, you are right. It is a small business mindset, and something that we need to change, because we won't grow if we keep small.
No,
And you're
it's
right.
about thinking bigger. Like
Yes,
maybe there's a little poster that you need, which is like think big.
think
Actually,
big.
that's a really good idea. Maybe we could give those to our clients, like think bigger
Big,
posters,
yeah.
because it is easy to get caught up in, you've probably got more questions and I feel like I'm railroading
No,
your
that's
conversation
fine. You
slightly,
keep.
but it's quite easy to get caught up in a lot of the planning. So you might, map out your 5-year plan. But the fact is, a really good CEO knows the outcome. They don't work it backwards. They don't kind of go, and this is what we're going to do to get there. Because if you follow what I'm saying, if you do what you're not good at for 90 days, the problems that you were going to face to get there in 5 years could be gone in 90 days. And so now that finish line could be so much further along. So a really good CEO just knows where, what the outcome looks like, or what the result is going to achieve for a company. They don't sit down and go, all right, well, if we just do this and this, then maybe in 5 years, they kind of, they work backwards rather than working forwards, which I just said the opposite, I think. But they don't sit down and go, all right, I'm just going to work on this thing and hopefully I'll make this much money. What they do is they say, we want to get to this point. So what do we have to do? And this is one of the first things we do inside of our growth tool, Scale Your Store, is ask you what you want. And then we work backwards. We call it your 7-figure roadmap. And because when you know what you want, you can start taking actions today. If you say, I want to be $1 million business, then we ask you to map out what that looks like. And you're like, well, I can't do $1 million on my own. I mean, you can hustle to $1 million. I can tell you from experience, you can hustle to $1 million. It is very difficult to hustle past $1 million because there's a lot more complications in there. And you're not streamlined enough to be making the profits that you need. But when you work backwards, you can say, well, actually, my next step needs to be getting someone to do my social media or getting someone to upload products to my website. So that's going to be my next step so that I can do the things that I need to do. Maybe it's research and development, maybe it's writing, maybe it's speaking, whatever that looks like for you. But knowing that outcome that you want to achieve and working backwards actually allows you to work out what your next step is, rather than getting up on the hamster wheel of hope, turning up every day, writing a blog post, like just doing stuff to stay busy and to justify having a business, rather than doing stuff that's actually going to help you grow.
Well, okay, Mum, thank you.
Look, that's what people come to me for, right? I'm quite opinionated and I challenge a lot of beliefs. But at the end of the day, the people that I work with are people who need to kick up the butt. Like they know that they've got great ideas, they've got big visions, they've got grand plans, but they're just a bit stuck. And so they just need someone to give them that extra push. Sometimes it's giving them permission, sometimes it's giving them the resources, sometimes it's just like, get this stuff done or I'll penalize you.
Yeah, No.
And that is the motivation that a lot of people just need accountability, I guess you would call it. And when you're paying for accountability, trust me, you get a lot more done.
Absolutely, I do. So do you need to spend a whole lot of money to see growth in the business?
I don't think you have to spend a lot of money. I think you have to be very clear on what you want, because what often happens is people spend money in the wrong places. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen who have a marketing budget because they know they need to market, but they're just spending it on stuff. They're not doing any checking of KPI. Like, they have no KPIs. They're not checking their ROI. They might outsource to an agency and they get a report, but they don't even know what the report means. They don't put their hand up and because they're worried about feeling dumb. It's like, but what does this, like, what am I getting out of this? Because if I'm giving you money, you need to be getting me money in return, or you need to be giving me time back. There's only two reasons you outsource outsource anything. It's either to get money back or to get time back. And so if you're getting the time back, what do you spend that time on? And maybe that is just, you know what, I'm taking a day off. But if you are spending money, you should always have some kind of benchmark of what you're expecting in return. And some of the people who work with me don't work with me to make more money. They usually make more money, but they might come to me and say, I just need to get some processes in order. Like, they don't know what it is. It's like, we're just a bit stuck. We can't seem to move past this point. And I might come in and go, well, it's because you've got no processes, or, it's because we're spending way too much money on packaging, or we're spending way too much money on shipping, or whatever it looks like. But you don't have to spend a lot of money if you know the outcome that you want, and if you are prepared to find the people to help you get the outcome that you want. Because I can guarantee you that I can probably run ads better than a lot of the people I work for, but I still have people who run ads for our agency. So I have the strategy, and then I have people who implement it. And that's what a good CEO does. They have the vision, they have the outcome, they can even do the strategy stuff if it's just you, but there's always going to be someone who can do it better than you. And so if they can do it better than you and cheaper than you and give you that time back to work on some other part of the business that's going to make you money, you do that every day of the week. Often it's just our head.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It is a mindset thing. And yeah, we as small business owners tend to play a little bit smaller because we're a bit frightened of the future.
But why? What's to be frightened about? And so now I challenge you, Rose, instead of calling yourself a small business owner, call yourself an independent business owner.
Okay. No, all right. Independent business owner.
Right. Yeah. Then that whole word small is taken out of the equation. An independent business can do anything. An independent brand can be $100 million brand. It doesn't have to be a $100,000 brand or even a $1 million brand. It's just independent. It just means it doesn't have shareholders. It can be as big as you want it to be.
All right. Well, that's a good point too. There you go. Listeners, just take Salena's advice and don't call yourself a small business owner.
Yeah, just call yourself an independent business owner.
Perfect. So why can retailers have a great turnover but little money in the bank?
Oh, that's the money pillar. So that was what I was kind of hinting on earlier. When people don't understand money in their business, and we aren't really taught this in school, so it's nobody's fault. Like, some people are just great with numbers, and some people have just never been taught what they need to know. I mean, I had a business degree and I failed accounting twice. But accounting was so different to money. The minute I had my own business, it all made sense. Like the whole double column book, whatever it's called, that thing, I had no idea. But the minute that I had a bank account and an FPOS machine and a POS, it was dollars. And I was like, oh my goodness, this makes sense now. Like, I couldn't understand why I had two columns. Now I get it. It's like a bank statement, money in, money out.
Yeah, they don't, when part of the management course was an accounting part, and I didn't understand it either. It took me a long time until someone said to me, yeah, it's exactly like a bank statement.
Yeah.
Treat it like that. And I thought, oh, now I understand what it means.
Yeah, but it's just numbers, right? If it's not yours, it's just numbers. And like I always say, I'm not the best person at maths. I can do it. And I'm pretty good, but I'm certainly not a whiz. And I always use my calculator to double check.
Oh, absolutely.
But when it was my dollars, it made sense. And when it was profit, it made sense. When it came down to, well, how much money out of this product is going into my bank account, that made sense. And so money is one of the funny pillars where it can encompass so many things. It does encompass quite often things like processes, because we had one client, the one that made a 30% extra. One of the ways that we found we call it leaking money. One of the ways that we found that she was leaking money was that she had her own people packing her orders out. And so when we actually sat down, or she sat down, not we, she sat down and she worked out how much time the average order took to pack, the cost of the box, the cost of the sticker, the cost of the tissue, the cost of the free sample, not even including the shipping, but just the actual packaging and the time taken. So we call it pick and pack. The pick and pack was $6. So not including the shipping that was going out. She was also in Western Australia, and most of her clients were on the East Coast. So the shipping costs themselves were quite exaggerated. Now, she went out and found that she could have a 3PL, so third-party logistics, a fulfillment house, do it for a maximum of $4. So she's now saving $2 whole on an order. Now, that is a lot of money. Like 2% on a $100 order is just pure profit. Like, that's a lot of money when it comes to profit. We also looked at things like some of the packaging had to go into bigger boxes just because that was what the supplier had suggested. But by changing the shape a little bit, they became smaller, so they fit into the next size box down. So just little things like this saved 30% more profit. So it saved them money, but it meant that their bottom line was 30% more profitable in 30 days. No extra sales, no Facebook ads, no anything. It was just understanding where the money was moving around in the business and then putting a plan in place to reduce those overheads. And so something as simple as that saved them, well, it didn't save them, that's the wrong word. It actually made them tens of thousands of dollars in 30 days. So why they can have sales and not have money is when they don't understand how that money moves around in their business. They don't understand profit margin. They don't understand cost of goods. They don't understand the cost of holding money. So if you are a retailer or e-commerce brand that's listening to this, if you have stock on your shelves or in your warehouse that's more than 45 days old, you need to get rid of it, because every day it sits on that shelf, there is the opportunity cost of money. And I remember learning about opportunity cost in like high school economics, and it didn't make sense to me. But again, when I got this business, I was like, oh my goodness, if I sold that thing, even if I sold it at a loss, then I still have this $10 that I can use to buy something that will actually sell. But every day that it sits on the shelf, I'm losing $10. I'm actually losing money having it sitting on the shelf. And so this is one of the things that we educate retailers on, because again, this is not the stuff they teach you in school.
No, I think I'm getting off the topic a little bit. I think there's a lot of things in school that they don't teach real life things. You don't
even have to get me started. I was having a conversation with my cleaner this morning about the fact that my daughter just entered into high school, and something like dance is graded A to E. And I'm like, I don't feel like that's a subject that should be graded. I feel like it should just be, you came in and you tried your best, or you came in and you didn't try.
Yeah.
Like, how is that a subject that should be graded? Because some people are going to be taking dance lessons and other people not interested.
That's right. And, things like algebra, unless you're going to be a scientist, what
or an engineer.
What is algebra for, And they do the, grade 12 exams on stupid stuff like that, and the English, and don't get me started on any of the other subjects. It's ridiculous.
Well, I am quite impressed that our school now does mindfulness. So part of their roll call is like 7 to 15 minutes, and they do mindfulness exercises, which is something I think in today's society, we're getting totally off the track here, but that's okay. I think in today's society, there is so much more pressure to children with things like the internet and social media, and just this, with having a phone in their pocket, everything is accessible. We didn't have that when we were kids. No. If someone called you a nasty name when you went home, that was it. Like, you didn't, but with things like cyberbullying and just some of the games that they play. My daughter was playing a game the other day, and she was telling me how she was trying to get rid of one of the villagers because he was ugly. And I went, hold on, at what point have we said that you can judge people on their looks in this household? And she goes, No. He's not ugly to look at. He's a really ugly person. He's mean to other people in the village. And I don't want that in my community. And I was like, oh, okay, you can have that. Points to you.
Yes. It's I think educators have not educators as such, but the ones that are responsible for curriculum have a lot to answer for.
Well, I think that they probably try, but the systems of government, the wheels of government move very, very, very slowly.
And I think there are
And
a few dinosaurs in there.
I was just about to say the same thing. I think the problem that we have is that there are a lot of people in those roles that have been in the industry for 30 years. They're ex-teachers. They've been there for 30 years and they're not really in touch with what the young people are doing.
No, they're not. And education really hasn't kept up with the times. I really don't.
No, and that's why people like you and I are here, because people want this information. They want to be able to access it. One of my friends, he's a CFO, his name's Adam Lean. He has just created, well, he hasn't just created, he created last year a book for teenagers who want to go into business. It is amazing. It's like all these steps that teenagers can use and how to understand money and things in business. It's going gangbusters because parents realize that these are the kinds of qualities that they want to harness in their kids. They want them to be independent. They want them to be able to think for themselves. And so I really struggle when my child's teacher is telling me that, she's the bottom of the class when she got 78% on a test.
What?
And yet is the same kid that could explain cost of goods to you. When they did the school fair, she was trying to explain to the other kids that the cost of the product that they were selling couldn't be more than 10 of the little tickets that they had to sell. Like that was her ideal amount, was 10 tickets. So if they were 50-cent tickets, you could spend $5. If they were $1 tickets, and she was explaining this to all the kids. They didn't listen. But one of the parents actually came up to me and said, oh my God, your kid gets it. Like she understood what making a profit was. And to me, that is way more important than you said, something like algebra.
Yeah.
And to tell a kid who got 78% that they're the bottom of the class, like maybe they
devastating.
Are. It was really devastating. And like I said, I think a lot of it is it's just being out of touch with what people want. And so there has to be external sources for this information. There has to be people like you and me and Adam who are saying, you know what, if you don't like the university system or if you don't like the school system, here are places that you can go to foster what it is that either you love or your children love or your parents love. And that's why we built Scale Your Store. We call it a course. It's not a course. It's a growth building tool. And that concept I was telling you about of focus on what you're crap at for 90 days, the idea is that every 90 days you assess your business and you work out which pillar you need to focus on. And then you create a plan. So you create specific tasks and you put benchmarks in there and timeframes on when they need to be done. And you put goals in and you say, you know what, I really want to focus on email marketing. So this quarter, I want to increase my email marketing to make us $30,000. How are we going to do that? And then you work backwards. And that is your company's core focus. Yes, you still have admin and other things. But when you want to faff about, when you start procrastinating on Facebook, the whole point is you come back to that core focus and go, instead of faffing about on Facebook, what could I be doing to get to that goal? What could I be doing to get to that stretch goal? Maybe it is creating a strategy. Maybe it is creating a promotion. Maybe it is sending out an extra email. Like realistically, you should be sending out 3 emails a week. But those emails should be segmented. So not everybody is getting 3 emails a week. You're going to have a much higher chance of getting somebody to convert to whatever it is you're selling if you target a specific offer. So if you sit down and work out, like I said, it's the clarity, it's understanding what it is you want. When I get to the end of 90 days, how am I going to celebrate success? And if we don't hit that goal, what am I going to go back and look at and say, oh, had we have done this sooner, or had we have changed this, maybe we needed an extra person, maybe we had too many people and the costs had blown out, whatever it looks like. But if you don't know what you want, if you don't have any results to hit, then how are you going to know that you get there? When do you get to drink the champagne?
That's it. Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. So, Salena, where can people find you?
So if people need some help on working out what they need to focus on, I'll give you the link because my name is spelled a little bit differently, but it's salenaknight.com/quiz. and they can do a quiz. It's super fun. It will take you 2 minutes to do. They're really not boring questions. There's even a question about cheese in there. The cheese question took us 6 weeks to write. And I can promise you that even though it's really fun, all of the input in there is 100% data driven. So we worked on that quiz with a whole bunch of data that we sourced from our clients and from our email list and from other retailers and all that kind of stuff. And so it will tell you which pillar you need to focus on. And then it will give you a little bit of a roadmap of some things that you can do to start working on that pillar right now. Other than that, I probably hang out more on LinkedIn. I'm just Salena Knight, Salena. You can follow me on social. I kind of have to up my game on social, but it's not a core focus for us right now.
No.
I'm the Salena Knight on Facebook and Instagram, and they're the only two places apart from LinkedIn that I hang out. I'm not a Snapchatter or a TikToker or
Oh no, neither am
I. Twitter. My people hang out on those two platforms. That's where I know that they engage. So that's where I like to hang out as well.
Perfectly perfect. Have you got any final words, Salena, for our audience today?
I think the biggest one is just stop playing small. Like, take a step back, think bigger, and then just think, what's one thing I could do right now to put me on that path to that next level? So stop playing small. And of course, the one that you are embracing wholeheartedly, there's no more small business. Now we're independent businesses.
That's it. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. I feel like I did so much of the talking though.
But that's what the point is, because you're giving the information. I'm just asking the questions. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Bye-bye.